Good morning, everybody. Um, I have an update, and I keep telling you I will make sure I keep you abreast about what things are happening and where things are going with the channel and all that stuff. Um, Yesterday, I told you that um, Straight Talk could possibly be coming to um, a close, and I was about 75% sure of that. Um, Today, it is not 75%. It's thankfully gone to about 60, 55%, which is good. The further it goes down, the better off I am mentally. So, um, no confirmation from the man upstairs. So, I'm not moving until. So, the less I hear from him, the lower the odds get. So, that's good. Um, so, I wanted to get that out of the way, make sure I cleared that up. Um, so, no massive change yet. Okay. At least there's change in the positive, not the negative. So, homophobic Christians. How many of you out there are homophobic? Why won't you just accept the LGBTQ, the people that are born that way? What is your aversion? Why do you dislike them so much and judge them? What is your problem? Why are you judging them? Why are you homophobic? You bigot Christian, you. That's my question this morning. Why are you being a homophobic bigot? Don't you know that biblically you're wrong? You don't know that? Honestly, you couldn't figure that out? Why are you against the drag community? Hmm? Why are you, as someone who's supposed to espouse love, hating on people? Did your God not tell you to love everyone? Hmm? Now remember, I'm not ordained. I am not ordained. I didn't go to seminary. So I think it's best that you learn from someone who's been to seminary because they have the not only the approval of God, they have the approval of man too. I don't know what I'm talking about. So I want you to hear from an ordained minister because a lot of people say you have to be ordained. You ready to listen to the ordained people? I don't want to interrupt the ordained. God's anointed and all that. So I'll let him say it.
Drag is holy. There has been an assault on the rights of drag performers in this country, and we must call out the hypocrisy and the injustice. Jesus called himself a mother hen longing to gather up her chicks. Gender is a construct, you see. And if Jesus can be a mother hen, then you can dress in drag. I've even heard it said that Jesus was, and humanity is, God in drag. So let me say this again for those of you in the back. Drag is holy.
So there you go. He's ordained. He's ordained. And if you are ordained, that's the only time you can speak on behalf of God. Otherwise, you'll end up being a homophobic Christian. Are you a homophobic Christian? Did God ever address this topic of why Christians shouldn't be homophobic? According to the ordained, he even approved of it. One drags holy, but not just that. Again, the ordained. You ready? Let the ordained say so.
Jesus said you love, period. Jesus said you welcome people, period. Jesus said you extend radical hospitality, period. Jesus did not say one single word of condemnation about anyone based on sexual orientation or gender identity. In fact, the only mention Jesus really makes of it is this passage in Matthew. Maybe you're familiar with it. It's actually an affirmation. It's buried in ancient language, and it's surrounded by this weird teaching about divorce. But what Jesus said is this, that if you are a eunuch, and you have been a eunuch since birth, that was an ancient way of saying that if you differed from what was expected in terms of what we would call today sexual orientation or gender identity, that if you were a eunuch and you had been a eunuch from birth, that you were loved by God.
Okay. So let's break down some things for you homophobic Christians out there. You homophobes that dislike and preach against homosexuality. Okay. Let us discuss some things. So he said that Jesus never addressed anything to do with homosexuality. Let's take his word for it. Let's take his word for it. He's ordained. He is ordained. Remember that. He's ordained. So he used a word called a eunuch. So I want people to clarify some things so you understand what he means, so you can understand him fully and realize how correct he is. Okay? The passage he's talking about mentions divorce and marriage and remarriage and all that stuff. That's why he calls it weird. And then it mentions a certain section specifically about eunuchs. So in their mind, they consider a eunuch a person born gay. The problem with that, this is where I get off my sarcasm boat, by the way, in case you hadn't caught on to any of the first, I don't know, 10 minutes of the show. All of that was sarcasm. Me asking those questions, come, sarcasm. I just want to make sure you guys understand now that this is the sarcasm's over with. The word eunuch. A eunuch was not one that was born attracted to men or of a different sexual orientation. In fact, the eunuch was one of two things, one by choice and one by birth. The by choice part means that they get castrated. Anyway, let me restart. A eunuch is not born gay. A eunuch is born unable to have children. If later they choose it, they castrate themselves. So they cannot interact with females or males. 98% of the eunuchs devoted themselves either to a religion or to their king, queen, or master. And they did that in order to assure the master that they were not doing any funny business with their spouse. They could be kept very close, be entrusted with many secrets because they had zero that they could do with the other person's partner. Zero to do with homosexuality. I would dare say, I hope more homosexuals become eunuchs. That would be amazing. If you are that sold that you were born that way, do what the eunuchs did. Castrate yourself. Go for it. Be a eunuch. Be a sold out, fully done eunuch. I dare you. I dare you. I dare you. In Matthew, which is what he was referencing, Matthew chapter 19, to be exact, verse 10. His followers said to him, "If that is the way of a man with his wife, it is better to not be married." But Jesus said to them, "Not all men are able to do this, but only those to whom it has been given. For there are some men who, from birth, will never be able to have children. There are some men who have been made so by men, and there are some men who have had themselves made that way because of a holy nation of heaven. The only one who is able to do this, let him do it." None of that statement had to do with homosexuality in any way, shape, form, or fashion. Let's read it from a different translation, since they might want to bring this up. His disciples said to him, "If such is the case with a man and his wife, it is better not to marry." But he said to them, "All cannot accept this saying, but only those to whom it has been given. For there are eunuchs who are born thus from their mother's womb. There are eunuchs who are made eunuchs by men, and there are eunuchs who have been made themselves eunuchs for the kingdom of heaven's sake." If you want to go the route that he's speaking about homosexuals, you have to abandon the thought process that it's a by birth thing. And then you have to adopt the statement that you can be made that way. And then you have to adopt the statement that you have a choice to be that way. But then you tell me that it's not a choice. Everyone who's gay is born that way. Just pick one though. Make up your mind. You can't be telling me that you believe the Bible because it espouses your viewpoint. But then the viewpoint that the Bible espouses that you say I should believe completely contradicts the way you want me to look at you. You choose to sleep with the same sex. Therefore, you choose to live a lifestyle that's antagonistic towards the spirit. He said outright throughout the entirety of the Bible, Old and New, man and woman is the only union he approves of. So don't, if you're going to be saying that you are gay, you cannot use the Bible to sustain your lifestyle because it's not going to work. It does not lend to your reasoning. But if you do want to consider yourself that it's a eunuch type connection, castrate yourself or get castrated. Pick. It's a choice. And by the way, Christians are not homophobic. There is nothing scary about gay people, like at all. There's nothing intimidating, nothing scary, um, nothing. You don't put fear in us. There's righteous anger towards you, but there's no fear. We just detest what you're trying to do to our children, but there is no fear. We're not afraid of homosexuals. No one's afraid of a homosexual. Literally no one. There are more people afraid of flies than there are people afraid of homosexuals. That there are more people afraid of lint than there are people afraid of homosexuals. Homophobic is not the word you want. It's not the word you want. We have an aversion to say homosexuality, a radical aversion. And please do not ever use the term love when describing what you do. It's not love. That's a different L word. It's 4 letters, but it's a different word altogether. That's called lust. You just happen to feel comfortable in it, and that's what you call it, love. But it's not love. I don't care how nice of a person you are and you're gay. It has nothing to do with the fact of what you're actually committing is sin. I don't care how nice you are. I really don't. Like you could be the most docile and friendly and helpful, outgoing, compassionate person on earth. That does not, absolutely does not dictate your state before God. You're living in opposition to his way. There's no such thing as a gay Christian. There's no such thing as a gay pastor. There's no such thing. It is impossible. I want to make sure people understand this. And I don't really care what verse you bring to me because none of it will make any sense in the context of God's way. You can try and twist it all you want. It's not going to work. You cannot be a gay pastor. You cannot preach LGBTQ from the pulpit and think that somehow you are touting the word. It's not possible. You are serving Satan, and that's exactly who your dad is, and that's the entirety of your congregation, Satan followers. You might as well just change your name to the Satanic Temple because that's what you're preaching. And it goes to any pastor out there that preaches the acceptance of this nonsense, drag or otherwise. I hope you realize too, though, that because you call yourself a teacher and this is what you're doing, you are purposefully putting yourself in a much larger position to be judged. Not by man. That'd be the least of your problems. But at the end of it, at the end of it, when you're before the big man himself, you are in direct opposition while trying to push yourself as his emissary. Thank you, Creel. So there are no such things as homophobic Christians. We have a stance that's completely opposite to what you live. I don't even care what you believe you are. Just because you are mentally gone does not mean I have to join you in that fantasy land. I don't go into an asylum and start participating in everyone's fantastical behavior because I want to affirm their stupidity. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that at all. I'm not going to participate in your lunacy. I'm for sure not going to participate in your stupid pronoun wars. That's for sure not going to happen. Nah, you is what you is. Call me hateful. Don't care. If you can call me hateful, I can call you hellbound. Fair exchange, no robbery. I can call you Satan's child. I can call you a minion. There are tons of names I could find that are more accurate about you than you can find about me. And I don't necessarily think this is a mental disorder. This is entirely choice based. All of it's choice based. And hand me mental issues all you want. You're choosing this because you have an innate lust in your flesh that you don't want to conquer. You like it. You've given over to it so long that you just love it now. So it's you. It's become you by choice. You can no longer separate who you are from who the sin is. You can't do the separation. Hence why you won't ever come to God, because in your mind, God has to accept you because by what you're thinking, you are made that way. You become so inundated with your own stupidity and sin that you are now identifying yourself by your action. That's how dumb you are. Your entire life is wrapped around something that you do for 10, maybe 15 minutes at a time with random people that look like you. And you want us, sane people, to join you in your crazy bandwagon. It's not going to happen. Sane, morally functioning people, we're not joining you in your psychotic attempt to cancel normality. I don't. I don't. I don't think there is a homosexual spirit at all. I'll tell you why. When you give into a corrupted version of what is natural, I can't say that a spirit takes over. What I can say is that you have allowed a certain spirit to be your guide. But I think all of it is from choice. Understand, sexual sin is a completely different sin than many other things. It is one of the only sins you've actually received into yourself. Sexual sin is one of the more participatory sins and interweaving sins among human beings. Murder ends a life you don't really take anything into yourself. Slander, anger, a lot of those things you don't take anything into yourself. Sexual sin, there is an exchange. There is an exchange. There is a reason why it's such a potent sin. You are built to procreate, which means that certain chemicals have to activate in your mind and body naturally for that act to take place. And when it's perverted, one can easily associated as a natural thing. But as we all know, the natural can always be perverted by the unnatural. And when you give in to one thing in the wrong way, food, it can become a vice. That's exactly what homosexuality is. You encountered something that triggered a certain thing in your flesh that is one of the most potent forms of connection, and that's sex. And the devil will use it. You can break into everything that you want to sexually with somebody, and before too long, you become enamored with the act and not the person, which is why you spot hop people upon people because you're looking for that new, fresh spike in feeling. And before too long, the regular spike is not enough. Thank you, Nadia. Then you end up wanting to get a different type of spice. The instant you give in to that more base behavior, the more inclined your flesh is going to be to want something more. It is never satiated. This is why you have to put those things to death. However, in marriage, the beauty about marriage, this is the beautiful part about marriage. And this is the reason I think most marriages break down. We replace the intimacy part of marriage for monetary, and we ignore it a lot. And what eventually will happen is you find people moving away from each other, even though they may have everything, and finding that connection somewhere else where that person fulfills just that portion that the spouse isn't fulfilling. We call it cheating, right? You rarely find emotional cheating. Rarely. Even with women, it may start there, but it doesn't end there. You will mostly find people who do that. Begin emotionally, yes, but it always ends. Realize that? Always ends. And I've even heard people say, hey, I'm a wife and I give my husband everything that he wants, blah, blah. Or do you give him everything you think he wants? Same thing for the husbands. Do you just give her what you think she wants? Or do you actively participate in finding out what it is that she actually wants? And that's what you do. I'm a big proponent of this. I believe that, and because he mentions marriage prior to this conversation we're having about homosexuals, the danger of sexual sin is not in your want for something brand new every time. It's a twofold thing when you're married, okay? There's two things that you have to fulfill: an emotional need and a physical need. That physical portion really doesn't help a whole lot if the emotional is not there. And the emotional doesn't really help if the physical is not there. I don't care how frequent, and I'm not even talking about frequency. I'm just talking about the connection. A man could be dog tired, but when he feels appreciated, valued, honored, and held in revere as a hubby, regardless of how tired he is, there are multiple things that he will do to reciprocate that love. Boundless. The same way that when it's flipped over and vice versa, the wife would do the same thing. It's a give and take. Each one knows the other. They know each other. From young, the body starts to create the need for this, which is why we have to curb children so early. They go through puberty, and the body starts to go through changes naturally to accommodate for the union of marriage. This is how I know marriage is natural. 98% of the people go through puberty to the end result of fulfilling what happened in puberty in the confines of marriage. What the world has done, he has taken that need, that location, and transplanted it to everywhere else. Take it one step further and then perverted it into loving the same kind, exchanging natural for the unnatural. It's what we do. I've told people I have a couple of friends that I don't know if you want to call it counsel. I don't think I can call it that. I give some advice to. And one of the things I've told this one couple was that when you have a fight or you find yourself always fighting, ask yourself, how is your intimacy? Ask yourself, how is your intimacy? Do you guys make enough time for each other? Because as much as you might want to think that nothing like this will ever come into your marriage, the easier of a door you make, the more of a passageway it is for evil things to get in. Make no mistake about it. And with sexual sin, it just takes one bite. One bite. And that rabbit hole goes deep. If you even remotely start jumping into it, it's deep. So I asked them, how is that portion of your life together? Because believe it or not, if you don't address that, you are fostering a portion of your life for the demons to start harping on. That frustration is a real thing. And before too long, one of you becomes cold and hard to the other, distant, and inevitably you find somebody that you can replace that initial feeling with in conversation. And then from conversation, it'll move to something else. It will happen. Or before too long, before that even takes place, you guys become angry at each other and you split because of irreconcilable differences. So, what does this have to do with homophobia? Everything. Everything. Because it's the exact same spirit. It's the exact same. It's a self gratifying entity. That's all it is. It's what you want at the expense of everyone else. Now, I don't care whether or not you say you were born gay. I don't care whether or not you said you became gay. I don't care if you say you chose it. I don't care if you say, well, it's because I was molested as a kid. This is what happened. I really don't care. Understand this. I feel for you that you were abused. That's horrible that that happened. But at the end of it all, there is a solution that many don't want to take. After a certain length of time, there is something called maturity. that you have to start looking at things meticulously. You cannot keep going through your life blaming the events of something. And I'm living right now, living out with people that I know who have been through traumatic things as a child. And what they have refused to do is to let that overpower what God can do. That's a choice. That is choosing God. I beg to differ. I beg to differ that it can't. I'm not denying the fact that it can't. It can indeed. It can indeed give that body from a young age the sensations that it's natural, which is for intercourse, to be polluted by somebody else's work. And as you get older, because you've now assigned that sensation to that act, in your mind, you can indeed believe it's natural. That is until you are told that it is not natural and what they did was wrong. Hence, what you're feeling is also wrong. It's a derivative of something wrong done to you that should have been a feeling of something natural. So, no, I do believe that that act of someone abusing a child can give them a propensity to be homosexual. But I also know that at the age of reasoning, you can be told that that is not natural. Do not give into it. It's still choice. The exact same way that someone who was born with alcohol fetal syndrome, they have in their system something that will and could kill them. But it also could give them a leaning towards alcoholism. So would you say then that it's natural for them to be an alcoholic? No, because you know the aversions to alcoholism. You know what it does. You know how bad it is. You know what it does to your liver. You know what it does to your heart. You know what it does to your bloodstream, your skin, your mind, your family. You know what it does. So you avoid it. And then when you get older and you realize, hey, I may have had this problem in my blood because of what my mom did, but it's a choice and I have to find my way to figure out how to avoid that problem. Everything is a choice. Choose you this day who you're going to serve. Here's the crazy part. Not everybody is going to get saved. Not everybody going to be saved. It don't matter how well you live in this world. No matter how much you love God. There are some people that you encounter that will not follow the way. You're feeling bad doesn't change anything. Your heart might grieve for people who, but this is, remember this, people choose. If God doesn't coerce them, then they choose. You have to be okay with the fact that this is what they're choosing. Since you can't save nobody and they know the right from the wrong, but choose the wrong, you can't really do anything about that. Nor should you feel bad about the fact that you are living in the right. If they're living in the wrong in their homosexual ways, you don't need to feel bad that you believe what you believe and know what you know. Don't be silent about it simply because they get their feelings hurt. Don't be silent simply because they're going to cut you off from their friendship and their family. Don't care about that. Be more concerned that you tell them the truth and let them deal with it. You don't hate them, but that don't mean I have to embrace you either. I don't need to embrace your lifestyle and accept you as you are. That's not my job. I'm supposed to be separate. I'm supposed to live the kind of life that you can see and says, well, that's what he's living, and he's living it out. But I'm not going to purposely put myself in your presence simply because you think you need a friend. No, no, no. I love you enough to make you understand that your lifestyle is in direct violation of the life I live. It simply is. Do I wish you would turn? Of course I do. But I'm also not going to enable your behavior. Um, I don't know what you want me to do. Do you want me to live a life that I actually believe? Then I'm living it. They all say they don't like these hypocritical Christians. If we're hypocritical, what does that make you? You're the ones that say love everybody, but yet still you're the ones that hate people that hate you. If you believe that Christians don't fully follow Christianity, then you can lead by example and follow Christianity for us. But you can't do that either. You have the exact same type of hate for people that you say they have for you. Accept me as I am, or I'll punch you in the face. Teresa, a quick question. You are or you were? I'm talking about that. Say you said I am a sinner. I want to know if you are or were. I'm not trying to come. I'm just questioning the statement because I did read what you said too about your earlier days and years. Because I want you to start. You were a sinner. Okay, good, and you fell short. You were a sinner. Anyone who has been baptized and put on Christ is no longer that. I hope people understand that's not you anymore. That's not your title. That's not your location. You were. And let me also clarify something. Anything you do in yourself will be considered falling short, which is why you don't do anything in yourself. That's the whole reason to stay away from self. My actions are falling short, but my status is not. My status, it's not like I can step out of the blood of Christ if I'm in it. That's not how that works. Uh, Either you're in or you're out. A lot of people think they're in, but they've never stepped into it. He thinks he's in there. He hasn't gotten one drop of it on him yet. Not even a single drop. So if you're a homophobic Christian, congratulations. You're doing exactly what you ought. You're doing exactly what you ought to do. Steer clear. It's said to avoid the very presence, right? If something seems even that way, stay away from even the appearance of evil. So let me ask, is the act of homosexual and cross-dressing and drag, is that the appearance of evil? Yes. And it says, if you believe the book, Thessalonians, for you those who don't know, abstain from all appearance of evil. Just the appearance of it, not even the act. If you just glance that it is, avoid it. The question is whether or not you believe that that's what the book says. Or you can go ahead and read whatever you want into it by saying that homosexual is not evil, so it's not the same. That's how they make that rigmarole happen there. Homosexuality is not evil. I got bad news for you. Yes, it is. By not my definition, but by God's definition, not mine, His. Don't pick it up with me. Talk to Him, and I'm 100% in agreement with whatever He decides. I decide. I don't wish for another way. I don't hope for another way. I'm not asking Him to change His mind about anything. This is His way. If I'm deciding to follow His way, I don't try to figure out a new way. I'm not like Todd. What's his name? Todd White? Todd White? Michael Todd? I'm not like that fool. I wish there was a different way. I don't wish there was a different way. If I were to wish there was a different way, I'm wishing that God was different. For me to wish there was a different way is for me to wish God was different. And if God was different, then He's no God at all. Instant any preacher could tell you, I wish that it was different. I wish. I don't. I don't wish it was different. It is the way God set it up, and that's good enough for me. Oh, you said no? No, it is. Hey, so what does God? He said no. But hey, he said no. Can you ask him if it's any different? He said no. He said no. But no. Don't wish for anything different. Don't want nothing different. He said no. And that is all that matters. It's a no. I'm a homophobic Christian, and I'm proud. I am a homophobic Christian, and that's exactly the way I want it. Are you a homophobic Christian? If so, you are on the right path. Shun as many of them as you can, evil. Tell them straight out, the way you live, we can't be talking. Ain't no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Same way I won't associate with drunkards all the time. I will tell them the way you're doing it, it's not the way to do it. Can I come over to your house? No. No. Because you're never sober. I know I have kids, and no, we're not. No, we're not doing that. You want to go into rehab? Get some help? Get sober? No. They, there's your answer. You feel that way? I feel this way. Where does he say respect others? One. And two, where does he say not to judge? Before I end, those are my two questions. And I know you're just asking. So I want to know where he says to respect others. And then I want to know where he says don't judge. If you can give me those, then I can fully agree that I am wrong. If you can give me those two references, I would be very grateful. Where does he say to respect everyone? And where does it say that you should not judge? I'd be I'd be very grateful for that answer because I'm always up for learning. If you know where it's at, and if you can please break that down for me, you got, I don't know, 5 minutes to help me out. I know that he does say not to judge others. Um, he does not say not to judge others. This is actually what it it says. It says, "Judge not," and that's where people stop. That's where people stop. Then it continues and it says, "Judge not, that you not be judged. For by the measure you judge, you will be judged. And by the same judgment you judge, you shall be judged." Then it says about the speck and the beam. The crazy part, it says to, if you have the ability to go judge someone's speck, first take out the beam. First, take out the beam out your eye. Then you can judge. Then you are behind the 8 ball, Dolores. Who are you to judge? An emissary of God himself. And what he deems wrong, you have to deem wrong as well. That's not judging. That is assuming a judgment already made by the one who created all things. I am not judging a homosexual. God did that already. I'm simply agreeing with him. And I'm telling that person, I fully agree with God on this. I'm not debating God. I'm telling you what God said. If you don't like what God said, take that up with God. I'm not judging them at all. Like, not even in the slightest am I judging them. God already did that. He already said that that's wrong. I'm simply relaying the message. So, no, I'm not judging. And it doesn't matter if I'm for or against homosexuality, God's against it. This is where we get crazy. You say, I am not at all for homosexuality, and no one cares what we are about. Look, there are many people that are not for salt on banana. There are plenty of people who are not for pineapple on pizza. At the end of the day, those are just preferences. But when it comes to God, who already made a full-fledged choice for you because he's the author of right and wrong, I am not judging by agreeing with him. He did the judging. I am simply reading out his judgment to people. That's like saying, I'm not for murder, but I'm not going to judge a murderer. What? Then get rid of the courts. We can definitely judge. You don't do anything, Maria. You hand them off to God. You tell them, go talk to God about that. You show them exactly where He says what they're doing is wrong. And if they have a problem with it, then they need to go talk to God about it. My job is not convincing a soul. My job is showing them, and they have to choose. Either we believe that God can do what God can do, or we don't. I help everyone regardless of the way they are. They just don't want the help because of the way they are. I tell everybody there's only one solution to your problem. And that's the author himself. That's God himself. If you're not willing to go talk to him directly about the things that he has made as rules, you're never going to make it. A preacher ain't going to be able to relay nothing to you better than he will. A priest ain't going to do it. Your father ain't going to do it. Mother ain't going to do it. Friends ain't going to do it. There's only one person that can break down the truth for you fully and unequivocally, and that's the author himself of truth. You may not like it, but it don't change it. It don't matter how much you hate the truth is still the truth. It don't matter how much you like it. It don't matter how much you agree with it, how much you disagree with it. It's still the truth. You can hate God, you can cuss him out. It doesn't change the truth. Okay, so I'll help you out one last time. I get it, but it just doesn't, it's not making sense with me. So you don't get it. Don't say you got it and then say it doesn't make sense. You can't get something that doesn't make sense. When it comes to people, regardless of their way they act, the way they act or choose to be, you might be the person that helps them in the long run. No. My only charge, my only charge in this walk is to show people to Christ. He takes it from there. I don't save them. I don't. If they do not want to take it to God, nothing I say will matter. Nothing. The very point of my walk is to direct them to go talk to God himself, not me, not to try. I'm not a liaison. Keep telling people you're the vessel. You're the vessel. You're the vessel. I see someone said, address somebody, but I don't know what exactly I'm supposed to address. There is a difference between killing someone and homosexuality. What's the difference? You're surrounded by homosexuals. They're all over the place, especially in the art field. I know. What am I to do? Change my line of work? Yes. It's their problem. They should seek God in their life. You want an answer for that? Or because I can give you an answer of what you ought to do. If you are not willing to call out sin for what it is, then you don't really believe that God is who he is. So you're in the middle of a den of homosexuals. We'll consider you Lot for now. So you are Lot in the middle of Sodom and Gomorrah. Do you find yourself placating to their wishes versus God's? Do you find yourself not being able or wanting to talk about God around them? Do you find it difficult to espouse your belief in rights and wrongs from God's throne around them? If that be the case, yes, you should find a different profession. Or grow some spine and some nuts and speak about your God that you say you love out loud, regardless of how they take it. Pick one. Either God is who he says he is to you, and you really do love God regardless of who's around. And no matter who is there, will not stop you from speaking about what he has for you, who he is to you, and what he will and will not accept. That should be normal. You should be able to speak your mind freely because God is greater than their sin. If their lifestyle is keeping you from espousing who you really are, you don't see a problem? Okay. Okay. If you deny him here, you think it's only by gunpoint? If you deny him here, he said specifically that that is a sin, unto death kind of sin, keep you from salvation kind of sin. Who are we to try and sugarcoat the truth for people? It's his truth, not mine. He ain't sugarcoating it for nobody. Why would I take the word of God and sugarcoat it for people to understand or make it feel more palpable? No, the truth is an offense, but not a sin. If they don't know that you have an aversion because of your God for how they live, then you're not living it. I'm sorry to tell you. You see, the modern day Christian has become the punching bag for society. The Christian has to accept everybody as is because of love. The Christian must accept everything, love. Nowhere in the Bible can you find that. It's not biblical, nor is it godly. So choose. Either God is who he says he is to you, or he's not. Either God's way is 100% true, or it's not. Either he can or cannot dwell in the presence of sin. Pick one. Final question. So if I have family that stays in my house, I have to move out or them, just asking. Homosexuality is everywhere. Why can I be and follow God on my own and not be affected by them? Everything's a choice, Maria. You can choose. You choose. Okay? But here's my statement about it. There are many things that we want to avoid, certain types of conflict, because we want to maintain friendships over our salvation. There are hard things we're unwilling to do because we don't want to sacrifice the momentary life friendships for an eternal relationship with God. And so what we end up doing is creating different ways to try and keep certain people, regardless of how egregious their sin is in our life, because we don't want to alienate humans, but we feel fine alienating God because he needs to accept everybody because love. When he tells you that he can have no fellowship with it. And if he can't, you think you can. So my question is then, do you really believe that you're following him? If you're not even strong enough to stand by what he believes in your life, then why would he need to stand behind you come judgment day? You might be saying, I'll just follow God on my own. Is that what they're getting from what you're doing? Or are they getting from your decisions and your behaviors that God accepts them as they are? And they see no need to change. Again, I'm not telling you what you should do. You do what you got to do. You live and would stay with, do whatever you have to do. That's you. I'm simply asking you the question of whether or not what you're doing lines up with what he wants. It's it is not a bad thing to separate yourself. He asks you to do that. And if the rest of the world is going contrary to what you believe, you have no fellowship with them. So what if you lose family and friends for the sake? He said to forsake mother, father, whoever is going to follow me has to forsake all those things and follow me. He said to deny all of them to follow me. His words, not mine. Again, if your relationship is that strong, then they should know that you have no fellowship with it. That's all I'm saying. And if they still think that you're okay with it, then you're obviously not espousing your strong relationship with God. That's a you and him thing, not me. In any case, that's my spiel. We're coming down to a time, folks, where you are going to have to separate fully from what they're doing, because the more you participate in their world, the less of a bond you maintain with God and the more compromises you will make. I'm just trying to help you, warn you that the more ground you give up, the more ground you give up. Respect God more. That's all I'm saying. Respect God more. Respect God more. Tomorrow, we have a really, really, really good topic. Um, I think it's a really good topic. The art of waiting. What does it mean to wait on the Lord? What does it mean to wait on the Lord? So we're talking about that, the art of waiting. And I'll give you some homework. Don't type the answer now. Listen, please, to instruction. Do not type the answer now. There is a word that I'm going to be hitting off with first tomorrow. Thank you, Creel. There is one word that waiting depends on. The homework is to see who will pick the right word for the answer tomorrow. So when you get into the chat tomorrow, drop that one word that you think it is. Thank you, Pearl. Drop that one word. Drop it. Tomorrow, drop the word that you think is the linchpin to the art of waiting. That's your homework for tomorrow. As soon as you get into the room in the morning, drop that one word that you think it means, that is the linchpin to waiting. Okay? Okay. It's a good piece of homework. If you're waiting on God, give me the one word that's the linchpin to waiting. We'll see how many people get it. I have it written down here, so I have it for reference. I won't forget. No, won't forget. Okay? All right, good. Again, scrolling at the bottom, your options. The biggest help you can give this channel, guys, the biggest help is to smash that like button, share the mess out the videos, and if you have not subscribed, subscribe. If you can go back and watch old ones, go back and watch old ones, get the views up on them. If you want to help out in the most meaningful possible way, if finances are not your thing, make YouTube do what they got to do by going through all the content, dropping a comment, smashing the like, and sharing it. If you dislike the content, go through all the videos, smash that dislike button, put a dislike comment in the comment thread, and don't share the video. But interact. That way, YouTube will know that you don't like the content and they can remove it. But if you do like it, do the opposite. And you see what will happen is that if the majority of people don't like it, it'll give an answer to YouTube. If they do like it, the ones that don't like it can find something else to do. Problem solved. Like I said, there are tons of videos left to watch. In fact, I have right now on my channel, let's see, 259 videos. Okay? That's plenty. Plenty to watch. Please go by, watch them again, because they're good. I can't remember half of them. So tomorrow, the art of waiting. If you have to send any emails, here's the email address, straighttalkmb@outlook.com. And if you want to drop anything in the mail, this is the address here. Thank you to those who have already sent stuff, gifts, and help and all that stuff. Thank you already for what you've done. I appreciate it. So we'll talk tomorrow about waiting. Wisdom calls to you from the streets. So please, please, please find wisdom. Peace.
Hold tight the dreams, for if dreams die, rely on yourself.